Board of Trustees. Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we could have the reading of the mission and vision, please.
Mission statement. Richmond Community Schools guide students in pathways of learning to a future of limitless possibilities.
Vision statement of Richmond Community Schools is a community nurturing mind, body, and spirit to prepare students for lives of choice, purpose, and service.
Thank you. Moving on to celebrations. Looks like we have a few. Dr. Wright.
President Weber, trustees, I ask that Mrs. Bridget Hazelbaker, our wonderful communication specialist, approach the podium to acknowledge tonight's.
Good evening. You guys are a little further away now. Nice and close. All right. Introductions. I'd like to introduce Richmond High School junior Cayden Lindahl as sectionals playing. Cayden placed first in the 100 breaststroke and headed to the IHSAA state meet prelims on February 25th, where he placed in 30th place. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Cayden Lindahl. You guys have any questions for him?
Could you repeat the event?
100 breaststroke.
100 breaststroke.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Can you tell us about your swimming and how long you swim and some of those things?
Going on my 7th year of swimming. Started in about 6th grade, so I'm on my 6th year. Yeah. And, just kind of hard to balance, especially this year with dealing with the 2 injuries that I had, the tendonitis in my shoulder and the ankle sprain that I had. It was a pretty rough season, but we still managed to push through. And I'm a junior, so I still have 1 more year, so we'll definitely be back at state, placing better next year, and coming out on top. So.
I wonder if you could, tell us a little bit about practice, because I know practice with swim is crazy.
It's awful.
Give us an idea of what a normal swim is.
So, normal swim practice, I'll start with the whole day. We usually have 2 practices a day, so I'll wake up at 5:15, I'll run to the pool and be in the water by 6, swim from 6 to 7:30. Usually just swim out to prepare us for the awfulness that'll come in the evening. So then go to school, go through all the classes, and 3:45 we're stretching. By 3:55, 4 o'clock we're in the water, swimming about 6 to 7,000 yards a day in 2 hours. So it's pretty awful, but it's fun. definitely helps. Definitely shows results. So yeah, that's pretty much a day, and then go home, do some homework, and do it all again the next day. Yeah.
Now, with regard to your consumption, your nutritional intake, when you say eat, I recall years ago seeing Michael Phelps, smorgasbord of pizzas and carbs and many more carbs and things that I still enjoy to this day, as you can see. But what does your nutritional intake look like? What do you eat?
Usually a lot of carbs, a lot of pasta. I'm usually eating in every class. Just high protein, just keep growing and putting muscle on. But usually a lot of carbs to just keep me going through those hard, long practices that we have. So yeah, just a lot of carbs.
My final question, I'm just curious, you said 7 years, you've been swimming competitively for 7 years. What drew your interest? I know that as a child, I almost drowned at the EL Cordell Middle School pool. I thought I could do the Air Jordan off the high dive, and then I realized when I was in the water I couldn't swim. But after being rescued by a female lifeguard, I've said, I thought I would like to have thought it was planned out, but I really don't swim myself. What would you suggest I do to try to improve upon
Before
my
you answer
ability to get in the water?
There are people at home that want to see you. So can you stand right here?
Yeah.
Daniel?
Yeah.
I know.
Oh,
There's
yes.
cameras right
Yes.
here. So,
Yeah.
and just turn around and wave hi to people that are.
Come a little bit closer.
This way. Keep coming. There you go.
And also, if you get in there, do you have some people with you today?
Oh yeah, that's my coach Maddie, and that's my mom Marcy.
And so for myself and other children that may have interest in improving upon our skill sets, what would you suggest we do?
Well, I suggest we probably should get some swim lessons going. I also teach. I also teach those, and I lifeguard as well. But I mean, just confidence really. You look like you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. So
Just gotta start showing up at 5 a.m. with you,
yeah.
right?
Cayden, when I knew some swimmers at Richmond, they always talked about shaving and tapering before the big meet, and I then unless that's I need it. If that's a wig, I need to consult with it.
Yeah. So taper lasts about 2 weeks. It's just being lazy, pretty much. Get home and you don't do anything.
But what about the shaving part?
Shaving, I used to have a mullet actually, and I cut it off for state. It used to be a little bit shorter, but
Okay.
usually do shave my whole body with that.
So I'm already aerodynamic there. I'm already ready to swim.
That's your thumbs down first.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
For your mother and the coach, would you have them stand, please?
Yeah.
Just so everybody will recognize them.
Are you thinking you may want to swim beyond high school?
Yes, sir. I definitely want to. I think I don't want to swim in college. Just continue it, and it goes on from there. But
Idea.
swimming in college would be pretty fun. It's a whole different experience. A way different experience in high school, actually. So it'll be. I think it would be pretty fun.
Good idea.
Yes, my youth or some Richmond alums at Purdue that might be interested.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well earned. Yeah.
Thanks.
So this is where you say, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cayden Lindahl.
All right, our next group that we'd like to celebrate is the Richmond High School Girls Varsity Gymnastics team. And then I'm gonna have you guys stand over there by that emblem. See, go over there.
Yeah, go.
By behind.
Yeah, there you go. Come around the back.
So
That's
you
better.
and you two world. Thank you. All right, so I'm just gonna give what I have. Mr. Pyatt gave us information, so let's go. The Richmond High School senior Elizabeth Ruger was awarded the prestigious Mental Attitude Award. She also placed fourth and all around with 37.575. Third on vault with a 9.675, and bars with 9.475, and fourth on floors with a 9.575. She finished her high school career with 12 state medals and 2 state championship titles. All right, Justin. Richmond High School senior Kinsey Bozell finished her day with an honorable performance and a 14th all-around finish with a 35.8. She placed 20th on vault, 15th on bars, 25th on beam, and tied for 16th place on floor. RHS junior Ella Rader finished in 23rd place in the all-around. She tied for 34th place on the vault, 31st tie on bars, and 32nd tie on beam, and a 37th place tie on floor. And last but certainly not least, Richmond High School senior Aubrey. Help me, I say it wrong every year. You did. Thank you. She competed in 3 events. Her highest event score was on vault, which was an 8.8. Her beam score was an 8.4, and her floor routine was an 8.725. So girls, now they're going to ask you questions.
If you introduce yourself and if you have someone with you, so we'll just start down the line.
I'm Kinsey Bozell. I'm a senior, and my parents are Gay and Tracy Bozell. My name's Liz Ruger, and this is my mom, Stacey Reese. My name's Ella Rader. I'm a junior, and I'm with my mom, Kristen Rader. My name's Aubrey Udy, and I'm here with my dad, Russ Udy.
Just open the floor.
Well, since they're being bashful, I know that I had a tremendous time. Myself and my daughter attended one of your most recent competitions. And after speaking with your amazing coaches and learning that much more about the preparation that goes into what it is that you all make it look simple and just hard for me, it's rather amazing. But I commend you all because as tough bound that other sports believe they are. I understand that the challenges physically that you all endure during the season and for your careers, and it's just rather remarkable. So kudos to you all. Tremendous job. The legacy that you all have left, as well as the door that's been opened for future gymnasts to come behind you, I think is rather remarkable. And it just speaks to the tradition that has always been Richmond Gymnastics. So, great job.
Well, I'd like to know what the plan is for the seniors for next year. What do girls do?
Being lazy.
All right, Kenzie, what do you think?
I'm not planning on continuing gymnastics. I have softball season left and going to college.
Okay. Do you have a college lined up at this point?
Yes, I'm thinking about Purdue.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm not doing gymnastics in college. I'm too broken. I am going to DePaul.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say, you'll still have some time to think about that. So. Awesome.
I'm going to Ivy Tech for their EMT course, and I'm actually putting in my application to get on a fire department this Saturday.
Awesome. That would be so cool. All right.
I kept hearing vault, and it made me think. None of you do track? No. Okay. So because I'm thinking all of the body movement with pole vault. Nobody's. Yeah, are you doing pole vault? Okay. I was thinking it's got to relate. So excellent.
Which is more difficult, the gymnastics or the vaulting?
Gymnastics.
Okay.
100%.
I tried pole vaulting once. It scared me, so I just stuck with hurdling.
I'm curious what your favorite aspect of gymnastics is, if it's floor or vault for each of you, or I don't know what the other events are.
My favorite event is beam. It's like I feel like it's the most mentally challenging. My favorite event is vault or floor. I never really had a reason. I was just always the ones I was better at. So I just wanted to do it more. My favorite event is either bar or floor, just because I like to.
My favorite event is definitely floor. I'm definitely a performer.
I just want to say it's amazing with all the distractions and everything else you got to overcome this year with having to travel for practice and everything. Just the additional hurdles you guys have had to go through. It's an amazing accomplishment you guys have had this year, and you guys have rewritten the history books.
It was really nice looking at the photos in the palladium item and seeing the captions and how much fun the four of you were having together, also with your coaches and everything. It was obvious that it was not just a personal celebration, but you were celebrating each other. And I know that several of you I followed, since your freshman years, knowing some of your parents and all. But, one of the outstanding things is also knowing we have before us the 4 final winter sport participants in the entire area, not just in Wayne County, but in the entire area. You think about basketball, you think about some of the other sports, and they've persevered since. When did your season start? November? October? Whenever? And here we are in March, and they're the last 4 standing who have participated. So you have represented us very well, not just this year, but for your careers.
Congratulations.
And they also brought some of their shiny
Mhm.
So take a look at that. Mr. Whistle is here too. The girls also got a lot of awards for like sportsmanship and things like that throughout the season through multiple meets. So that was also pretty exciting. All right, last but not least. Drum roll. Lastly, RCS would like to thank Glenn Slifer and John Hamilton for their leadership and guidance through the pandemic. They all and their team led RCS through some rough times, and we appreciate all the effort and sacrifices they made for students and for staff. I'd like to call them up, please. Let's just let her come up.
Oh.
I love it.
Oh, no. We let it move.
Great. This is great.
Ready.
I'll start with it. Being that we have so many hidden helpers that work their magic on a daily basis, whether it be our amazing secretarial staff, our amazing custodial staff, food service, our transportation, our instructional coaches, a lot of the classified staff members that oftentimes are working their magic in the dark, literally and figuratively, but relatively stay hidden often. I know for you all being out in the forefront with these cameras catching your every movement, I can imagine this is a little challenging, but again, we cannot thank you enough for what it is that you've done. Just as our gymnasts and athletes and others throughout the district have worked their proverbial magic and made it look easy, you all and what it is that you've done have made it look extremely easy, which is very hard to do, especially with a pandemic that we're still in the midst of, that has taken lives and been dangerous. You all exercise the utmost of safety and security for all that you've served. You kept us to the point where, compared to other districts, we're well ahead of the game. And it's not an easy task, but just as so many other amazing magicians, you all have made it look simple. So we definitely appreciate you for what you do.
Well, I think another point too is you both have been with the system over 30 years, right? 34 years. So, I mean, that in itself is recommend. I mean, they need to be recommended.
So each of you have been over 30. Yeah.
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 I think there's only a few months difference between the two, if I remember right.
Who has seniority?
Now, what's
Nobody's keeping track.
it's also a terrific fact, and I don't want to share too much of your own personal business, Mr. Hamilton. I think since you have been a youth, you've been in and around Richmond's community schools and facilities.
on the grass group.
We're with, I believe you had family, your father, I believe, was also serving. And so since you were as small enough, but strong enough to pick a tool up, you've been right here in RCS.
You mean you work for Don, right?
No.
Dad, oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you have anyone else that you all have with you? Like you got people here.
Guys,
You can just acknowledge them, and if you all don't mind standing. See, these are other folks that just really would prefer not to be in the limelight, but gentlemen and ladies, I apologize. I'm acknowledging.
these are the people that make these two look good.
For the most part.
Is that right?
Please make them stand.
We've had a great crew over the years of people helping us, everybody. I mean, our focus is to help maintain, a good, healthy learning safe environment for students, and that's our main goal. We get into a wide variety of things that we can do every day. We see different stuff every day. There's a big focus out there. We got a lot of good people behind us help us as well, so. On all sides.
Stand up.
You don't mind just acknowledging who they are, and they say hear some names.
Darren Cottle. And I think Mr. Darnum has been 40 years, right? 40 plus.
Yeah.
Chris Dunn. He's over 40 years. Yeah. Chris Linker. Jennifer Lady. Ben Bishop.
We got Mike Renaud here as well. So, rest of them didn't come tonight. They had other things to do.
Again, we thank you all so very much. Thank The term that comes to mind is essential during this pandemic, as we are still relatively within it. But early on, it was identified as to who was essential and who wasn't by our federal department as well as state health department. And without a doubt, you all could get to places throughout the districts that even we as superintendents, principals, other administrators could not. And so, again, I think it really just speaks volumes to what it is that you all continue to do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You stand for 50?
All right. Now they all can leave, right?
Yeah.
Give a few moments to.
You guys can go.
Two leaving. I don't.
We won't be entertaining.
Just a small, safe it up for you folks. Very small. Moving on to public commentary, we have our return to in-person learning plan update. Dr. Wright.
Yes, President Weber and trustees, I ask that Mrs. Jennifer O'Brien, our assistant superintendent, the resident expert who comes to all things COVID, will share with us the update to the return to the in-person learning plan.
Thank you. The actual update came March the 3rd of this month. However, this is our first board meeting since that change. So the CDC no longer requires the wearing of masks on buses or vans operated by public or private school systems, including educational child care programs. RCS has and will continue to follow CDC guidelines. Masks were optional beginning on March the 3rd on buses. So at this time, I would ask if there is anyone that has public commentary in regards to the return to in-person learning update.
Floor is open. If someone like to comment. Right, seeing none. Mrs. O'Brien. All right.
Yeah.
Not necessarily about in-person learning. I guess it came to the open commentary.
Yeah, we'll have that next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Can I make a motion?
We need a,
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
do we need a motion? We need a motion and approve it. And
We do it every other time. So.
that's what
You're not required to vote on it. We're just required to have public commentary. However, that's been your past practice.
So I move that we approve action item 3.01, return to in-person learning plan update.
Motion by Kristen Brunton,
I'll say. Oh, I'll say.
second by Keith Moray. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to regular public commentary.
Yes, no.
Okay.
Stand here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
This seems like an annual visit for me regarding science fair. So I don't know why I have to continue to come here and showcase and have my students be recognized. But here I am, you know. So at early college, as you know, we do science fair every year. This year we had 30 students who qualified for regionals, but they decided last minute to make it virtual. And so my list of students dropped from 30 to 9. Because the students, they want that in-person experience. They didn't want to go through the hassle of the virtual competition. So in the end, I ended up with 9 students who decided to follow through. And of those 9 students, I had 1 student who placed second in chemistry. And I had 1 student who placed third in chemistry and 1 student who placed first in physics. Now it's interesting that the third place chemistry student, along with my first place in physics, they're moving on to state competition on April 2nd. So they'll be one of 100 students across the state on the junior division, competing in their respective categories. The senior division, their students, they get to go in person, but my students again are virtual. So again, want to showcase and highlight the awesome work that my students do in science fair. And the fact that out of the last 6 years, 5 years, I've had students go to state competition.
Clarity, you said this, the 2 that are going to state, is it in person or virtual?
They're virtual. Yeah,
Okay.
the senior division, they're the ones that are allowed to go in person in Indy. So they'll be on Zoom again, doing their interviews and hopefully place.
Will you let us know how they place, or is there some way for us to follow that?
There's usually they try to do a Zoom of that. I just don't know with the latest instructions, they haven't set that out yet. Even my students don't know yet. I'm still waiting for the official details. We should know as of March 20th how it's going to go down. So once I know that, I'm going to share.
And as I understand you to say, it will all be virtual. So
They'll be virtual, unfortunately. Yeah, only the high school students get to go in person in Indy. That's where we typically go. for state science fair.
So we wouldn't know if I had interest in going, I couldn't just show up, knock on the door and say I want to be.
Usually the past you could, but they actually kicked us out.
Wow.
Only students are allowed to be there. Even as a teacher, I have to go hang out in Indy and come back for the award ceremony because they wanted to be student focused and not have the anxiety of their teachers or their parents being there. So that's typically what happens.
Well, thank you. I think as a past educator, I can appreciate, you know, the extra, I know it takes extra work on your part to encourage your students and, you know, provide them feedback and help them with that process. And it's above and beyond. So thank you.
I appreciate that. It's a lot of work.
Yes.
The last 5 years you've had people go to state?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Testament to your hard work. Appreciate it.
But yet every year I have to come here and let y'all know about my students' achievement. I believe we need to do a better job of marketing these students. Now with early college going away, I don't know how science fair will go moving forward. I would like to continue that, obviously. I just don't know what the future holds at the moment. That's all I got, unless you have other things to say.
I think it'd be awesome to, whatever the outcome, at least if we could have the qualifiers come to the next board meeting, I think that'd be great.
And by the way, the students who are going is Lil Patel. He's an 8th grader in early college, and Pushkar Misra. He's actually a logo student who asked me to compete with my early college students this year.
Okay.
So he's the 3rd place winner in chemistry. That's also competing in state. He's 7th grader.
Very good.
Congratulations, we definitely moving forward. Want to continue, as you mentioned, to celebrate it, acknowledge it, make sure that students behind them are just as interested in the sciences.
Thank you.
Faithful?
Erica Siebert.
It's actually a bear. It's French. It's okay. Everybody gets it wrong. But I want to address the bullying that's going in all the schools. And not just the students, but the teachers. There is one particular teacher at Test that is in charge of a lot of kids that have IEPs. Every single one of them are getting in trouble on a daily basis. She is calling them names. She is refusing to let them use the restroom to the point where one little girl ended up getting detention. She wasn't allowed to go to the restroom in class. She got detention. She couldn't go to the restroom. Then she had to get on the bus and she had to ride home. There was no place for her to go to the bathroom. She wet herself on the bus. Where they went and picked up at Dennis 7th and 8th graders. Can you imagine how mortified this child was? Thankfully, my daughter was with her and she was coming to my home, but it was cold out that day. My daughter took her hoodie off, gave it to the little girl so she could wrap it around herself, where they both proceeded to walk home freezing cold because one is wet and one has a t-shirt on now because she gave up her hoodie. There's other parents that have reached out to me that are having the same kind of issues. And it's not okay. I mean, our students are more likely to bully because if the teachers are bullying other students and they're getting by with it, they think it's okay. I tried to talk to the principal at Test. The day that she called me, she had a terrible attitude. When I tried to explain some of the things that were happening inside the school, she cut me off repeatedly. So every time I tried to continue to tell what I have been hearing, not just from my daughter, but other students, and she proceeded to scream and yell at me and tell me that I was not going to talk to her the way that I was. I was talking to her just as I am talking now. She threatened at that point to hang up on me. I told her I needed her to stop, listen to what I had to say, and then we could go from there. And she hung up on me. So that was how my conversation went with the actual principal. That's not okay in my book. As a principal of a school, you should be able to talk to the parents. You know, I can understand, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I can
Dr.
be
Wright,
loud, I can be.
we do have a policy that does not allow public complaints in this forum against identified staff, employees, board members, attorneys, whatever.
But-
And the procedure should be, and I would suggest this be referred to Ms. Stewart. I think normally we would refer it back to the principal for the concern she had in the classroom, but obviously she's tried that. It apparently did not get satisfaction. So I think at this point, this is not the proper public forum for that type of presentation, but that doesn't minimize her concerns. And I think they should be handled by Ms. Stewart, who can, if you will, help her guide you through this and make sure that your energies are appropriately directed, because we understand the concerns you have.
I hope so. I mean, I'm not the only one. So.
Ma'am, what is your name again?
Erica.
And
Your last name? Your last name?
Hebert.
Hebert.
ERT.
We'll be following.
Erica with a C or a K?
C.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Mhm.
Sharon.
We definitely will be following up. And I believe there's another young lady that
Yes.
also would like to come
Yeah,
up.
so
And
my
your,
daughter was actually the one,
give your name, please, ma'am.
Jessica Beals.
Okay.
I have four kids. I got one in Dennis, I got one in test, well, not anymore. I actually pulled my daughter out. My daughter is the one that wet herself. I'm not happy. You know, I try to respect everybody. When my children are in the wrong, I'll take care of it. I actually had to pulled my daughter out of test because, you know, things are not, you know, you guys don't hear it and I know this, but there's gotta be something. You know, I will not allow a teacher or any adult. You know, I don't get up in my, any of my kids' face. I don't expect a teacher to do that to my daughter. I had enough, you know, Tess was calling me a lot and saying, you know, my daughter's doing this, doing that, da, da. Okay, I'm gonna back you guys. But when I address what this teacher is doing, not only to my daughter, to the whole, you know, she's sitting there calling them fools and everything. What are we doing to their mentality? You know, I mean, I'm really upset because any child, it don't matter if it's mine, if it's, you know, any of you guys, no child needs to go through this. I mean, you know, if we don't stop it now and they're not listening, I mean, I will not, and I'll say this, no disrespect to any of you guys, but until they get that teacher out of test, I have one student coming from Vale Elementary to go to test. If that teacher is not out of there, none of my kids will go to test.
Mrs. Bills, if you also don't mind following up with Mrs. Stewart, most importantly, very apologetic with regard to the experience that your daughter experienced. Definitely challenging to say the least. But if you can definitely follow up, Mrs. Stewart will be following up with both of you and Miss. It's not Hebert, it's
Hebert.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
If I may add, to the both of you,
Yeah.
to Ms. Bills and Ms. Hebert,
Mhm.
because basically you have been told that we will follow up on it and you're giving Ms. Stewart information, that will come back to us. So that will come back to us so that we can direct it to the proper individuals so they can look into it. And eventually we as a board can
Now, is it going to progress? Because this is what we hear all the time. And that's why what brought me to take my student out, because, you know, I can't remember his name. It's a guy though, and it's the principal at Test. He just come from Dennis.
Yeah, I mean,
But anyway, you know, but anyway, I had spoke to him. He told me, you know, that people would call me back, and I never get a call. I can call, leave messages. I mean, it's just not. I mean, I'm hearing it.
you have
But-
contact information with Mrs. Stewart today, and then we'll. I mean, that's not really the board's position right now. So, Mrs. Claypool, did you have someone else?
Shane Banks.
How's it going, guys? I'm Shane Banks, and I'm going to continue the caveat from what's already going on. My son also goes to Test. He is an IEP, and it's been an ongoing issue for a year now, and no issues have ever been resolved. Here lately, the school has been contacting us, but nothing is really. It's more so to cover themselves, is how it seems. And I mean, there's clearly an issue because I'm the third person in line with the same school, and I served 8 years in the military, and the military as a whole protects people from bullying, hazing, sexual harassment. Fort Campbell alone has a population of 234,000 people, and every single person on that base is protected by all the policies that are put in place. But yet my kids and fellow kids are still struggling with this, and nothing is being resolved. Like, this is stressful. My son is scared to go to school. He doesn't trust those that is put in charge of him when he's not with us. And that's scary because, like, I mean, kids take lives with stuff like this. It's not safe. It's scary.
Mr. Banks, also, if you don't mind, sharing your name and contact information with Mr. Stewart, and we also definitely be following up with all of you, as well as investigating the matter and reporting back to our trustees as trustees Stevens' vision.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Y'all have a great day. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I can't read your signature if you want it.
It's Brandon.
Brandon. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm here for the same issue, and same school even.
What's your
Brandon,
last name?
what-
Brockman. I work child safety. It's my job. I've had my stepson goes to Test, and he has been gone to the hospital. He's had marks. I want to address everybody, not just the board. That anytime anybody suspects neglect or abuse for children, it's our obligation as citizens of Indiana to call 800-800-5556 and make a report about that abuse, neglect. It's our responsibility to people. Also, I'm aware of some policy for Indiana that every incident of bullying should be reported to the Board of Education. Is that correct? It is. I'm not sure how we can get evidence of that. As parents, I think you should be able to have follow-up. Investigations that our kids.
That evidence is available through the annual report that the school files. In fact,
That's why I'm here, so I can get that information.
you can get the aggregate, you can't disaggregate it, know who the kids are, anything like that.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to,
Yeah,
but
that should be available. Now, how current it is, I don't know. I just happened to see one. I said I saw another. One of my school clients had their annual report in the paper this week, and that is a category where they have to identify the number of documented bullying incidents.
that's pretty much all I have to say. So I'll give my information to the lady here. And hope you guys have a good day.
Thank you.
Rob.
Thank you.
That's all I have on the list.
All right. Moving on to item 4, work sessions. 4.01 Meridian, Dr. Wright.
President Weber, trustees, I'm going to ask that Mrs. Lisa Tuttle and any other representative from Meridian Health Services that are here in the audience, please approach the podium. They are going to share with us, as we all have been in conversation about, and I believe even prior to my arrival for the past few years, I think our trustees have had some inquiry into a school-based health clinic, and Meridian Health Services has been successfully, and I'm not going to steal their thunder, but they've successfully been serving in other school corporations throughout the state. I know there's one northwest of here that we really don't like to say too much here. Bearcats, something of that nature, but nevertheless, because we're still competitive, and they are one of our rivals, but we do know that Meridian Health Services has had a school-based clinic there in the Muncie School community. Yeah, I have. And they're here tonight to present to us some potential options that we may be able to explore here within the
So,
all these
media picture.
well, we don't have to. I'll share. We can share.
Sorry, we may be in the short couple packets, sorry about that, real information.
Would you have like a table and chairs? I mean, I don't know how long we're gonna have a work session.
Yeah,
to be more comfortable. I don't.
We're fine, probably about 10 to 15 minutes, if that's okay.
Okay.
So
If you all change your mind, let us know what that.
Okay.
Just swing one around and pull some chairs up if you'd rather.
We're fine. My name is Lisa Suttle. Sorry, it says Tuttle on there. Lisa Suttle is my last name. And I may have spoke there. So I am coming from Meridian Health Services. I'm a regional vice president for Madison, Delaware, Henry County, and part of Meridian. I am from a lifelong resident of Wayne County, actually 1981 Lincoln High School graduate. I don't know if you recognize me or not. But again, just presenting information about what Meridian can do for Richmond Community Schools. I want to let Jerry introduce his stuff too as well.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Jerry Cernowski. I'm a regional vice president with Meridian Health Services. And I've got a few more counties that we cycle all the way up to Fort Wayne, west of Marion, and down to Indianapolis and Rushville. So everything in between, including Wayne County.
And Misha?
I'm Misha Staten, regional manager for Eastern Indiana. Jay, Blackford, Randolph, Wayne, Union, Franklin.
So thank you for having us here tonight. We greatly appreciate it. We met with Dr. Wright a few weeks ago and then have talked with him since then too. So we wanted to present the information about what we can do within the community school system. And I'm here today because we started this in Muncie Community Schools. I have to say that, but we started this there. Actually, you have information specifically about all that we can do, and also a magazine too that really highlights what we've done at Muncie Community Schools. So a little information about what that looks like. When we went into Muncie Community Schools, we put an FQHC in that location, which to help you with that is a federally qualified healthcare system. With that, it helps to serve underserved populations, specifically high Medicaid needs, those kind of things within an area. When we put the FQHC in, we're able to provide primary care services, behavioral health services, dental services across the board. There's a sliding scale that we utilize specifically for parents in looking at what the cost is, but most families fall below that average salary for the families, and there's no charge. For us, the benefit is that, of course, we get to serve kids in preventative measures, of course, for primary, again, behavioral health and dental, at a cost that helps to support us, but it comes from the federal government, which is really nice to be able to do that here in the school. We've kind of found this niche as a community mental health center, but also federally qualified healthcare center that we can come into the schools and provide both of those services. We started 2 years ago at Muncie Community Schools and specifically went in as a primary care. We've done behavioral health for a long time, but brought in primary care. And when I say primary care, that's medical services, specifically pediatric care for kids coming into the school.
We started that. It was in the middle of COVID. There was a lot of virtual services. It was very slow, but kind of a blessing to us because we got to really look at everything that we needed. With us being in there a year, Muncie Community Schools asked us to take on the nursing services too as well, which was really nice for us because then we touch the kids first and do assessments and then get them into primary or dental care or behavioral health care services. So with that being said, we don't charge for the nursing services. How we get supported with what we do is what we get to our primary care services and our dental, because that's our billable service that we provide to the schools. At Muncie Community Schools, it's been really nice that we've been able to go into a school, provide the nursing service. We do all of the reporting, we do everything that we need to do as a nursing service. The school really likes it because it's a cost savings for them specifically, that they don't have to pay the nurses. It's not any kind of push through or anything like that. We hire them, we make sure they're qualified, and do all of those things. We also provide services to the teachers within the school, CPR, mental health first aid training, QPR for any kind of suicide risk, kids or anything like that. We provide that for the teachers too as well. During COVID, we did all kinds of testing. We helped with making sure that people were isolating and quarantined. Hopefully that never happens again, that we have to go through that. But we did a lot of that service too. We've done drive-through flu vaccine clinics. We've done FamFest, just all kinds of things. Again, that's not a cost to the school. It's just us really bringing preventative care to the schools and very proactive in many ways. When we put an FQHC into a school, it's open to the community, it's open to the students and to the teachers there too as well. The students and the teachers have access to it, of course, because we're in the school, directly, physically in the school. The community, we make appointments. We want that to be safe and not just a walk-in or an intake clinic at any time. So what we have done then through Muncie Community Schools, we started at one school. We are now at 4 schools within Muncie Community Schools, and by the fall they want us in all of the schools that are at Muncie Community Schools. We just signed a contract a month ago with Anderson Community Schools, so we're moving into that area. And then you're the 3rd school that we spoke with about it, and then are speaking with some up north. I won't mention any names, but some up north too as well. So we're really wanting to reach out. We do feel like it's a niche that we have of being able to provide the whole person service and really partnering with the schools. I share this because it can always be rough somebody else coming into a school, but we come in as a partner, as a visitor into the school, not to take over, really push that with my staff. That's how we come in, because we can't do it alone. And we want to make sure on the front, it looks like we're all working together and what we need to do. So again, the information that you have has the front sheet there that has all the information about what we can provide. And I'm not going to go all through that, but it has that information. And then also the article in the book gives you a lot of good stuff of what we've done at Muncie Community Schools. Dr. Leanne Kwiatkowski, some of you may be familiar with her, but she speaks very highly about what we do. It really gives you a one-on-one, because she calls me anytime to ask questions or get some personnel there to help with situations that are occurring. And that's exactly what we want to do in any of the schools that we go into. So. Any questions or anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, I would just add that, like Lisa said, there is no cost to the school. All we need is space.
Space.
We take care of the equipment, we take care of supplies, staffing, the whole 9 yards. And it really is a totally free of charge service to the school corporation and the students and parents.
Do you typically work with schools to work with their current staff that are in place? Because we had this a few years ago when we did the food service. We wanted to make sure our food service personnel we had on staff were taken care of and
good question. Muncie Community Schools has asked us to interview their nurses that they have in place right now, and we've done that. And then anybody else that would be associated, if they're social workers, therapists, or anybody like that, absolutely.
Well, that was one of the questions I had, because we have a relationship. Aren't we under contract with that?
Dun & Associates for?
So would this be the thought to parallel that, or absorb that.
We can parallel it or it can absorb it. It just depends on where it goes. In Muncie Community Schools, we have another agency that's in there too as well, Open Door. We work beside them. Again, not coming to take over, just figure out. And again, ours has just grown. Our relationship has grown with the school in the last 2 years. So that's what we'd like to do here too as well.
And there's also a large cost to the system. I mean, what we have with Cornerstone is we pay quite a bit of money for that as well. Correct.
This would be a new service really as far as the primary care preventative services.
Yeah. And again, what we're able to do with those primary care is take a look at kids, try to get them back in class as soon as possible. You know, prescribe medications, antibiotics, that kind of stuff. Look at their ears, nose, eyes, all those kind of things. With our behavioral health, we're able to prescribe medications such as antidepressants and that kind of stuff too as well, along with their, you know, for the kids, but their families too as well as needed. So,
Yeah, this is my ninth of questions. I go a month without even talking. I have a little familiarity with the FQHC system. Is this an URSA created FQHC with a full grant? Not a lookalike.
No,
we started out 10 years ago as a lookalike, but then quickly moved into a grant fund.
And I didn't quite understand. Do you have it's one umbrella FQHC, is it not, that services these various schools?
it's one umbrella, yes.
And what is the end of your current project period, if you know? Is it a 4-year grant?
Not sure. I know there is some sort of grant cycle. I'm not sure when the last time we reviewed that.
Just last year.
Was it last year? Because we have, right now in Wayne County, we have a clinic, primary care clinic in Chester Boulevard, across from Reed Health.
Right.
We have our 9th Street clinic, which is pretty much new. And then we also have a kind of specialty clinic for addictions over in our facility in the State Hospital.
So anything you would do in this school would be as part of that umbrella?
Yes, because we've got clinics in multiple locations, different counties. It's all one umbrella.
It would be an expansion of our scope, yeah.
What kind of criteria do you have? You know, we have 6 elementaries, 3 middle schools, and a high school. So part of the, I don't want to use the word issue, but the concern is sometimes we have to travel between buildings. So if our ultimate goal is to place the service in every building, what kind of criteria do you have to meet to justify having a site in every building?
Your patient.
Yeah, we've already started interviewing nurses in this area because that would be the first thing that we would want to move into the areas. We were just waiting to meet with the board and get a signature to move forward with that. Within the school system, we have to have an RN that oversees the nursing services specifically and makes rounds, goes to all of those schools, and we would want to be associated with all of the schools just to provide that full consistency.
And Muncie had started out with one school.
It did.
But by invitation, they asked us to start going to, end up all schools.
But a clinic would have certain requirements for a building code. I mean, who does that or pays for the renovation?
Our facilities does. We come in, once you give us a space of where we're at, then we come in and do what we need to according to our regulations. And that's according to the FQHC site.
So your model that started with Muncie, where did you guys start? Did you start at the high school, the middle school?
We started at Southside, which is their middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They had a clinic, a nursing clinic there. At the first, they gave us a room, and then we made it with an exam room, a refrigerator, all of those kind of things. As it went on, then we moved into nursing and took that area. They also gave us a suite to the back of the building to where we do psych assessments and therapy and different things too as well. Small, I'd say, not big suite, but small. And just space so that it was more private, that people could come in the back door rather than having to come to the front. So, and again, we didn't ask for all that space. They just provided us with more space as time went on. So, and we can provide it in a small area. It doesn't have to be. When we talk about a clinic, sometimes people think it's a full-blown waiting area, all those kind of things. We can accommodate, what we need to do within those areas. We can also provide telehealth services, so it doesn't mean that we have to have a bunch of space because we can do that through our AMWO carts, which helps us to provide medical assessments, have a provider somewhere else to be able to do that. Your question about being at all the schools, that's something that we can do too as well, from one location but provided.
So walk me through. My daughter comes in with a chipped tooth.
Okay.
Go.
So they'll sign in, and the nurse will see them, see what's going on with them. We'll refer to our nurse practitioner, and it's a great question because I can tell you what level service is going to be there. Nurse practitioner will take a look at it, say I think that she needs to be seen by a dentist. First of all, though, before that, we're going to call the parents, let them know what's happened, get a consent that we can talk with them. Most of the time, our parents come in through Muncie Community Schools, and then we work directly with them. If they already have a dentist or they already have a primary care, we're not looking to take that away. Just get them connected.
So where does it go from there? So you've got my consent. All right. She needs to see a dentist.
So we call our dental services, or, make an appointment to get there, depending on if she's having pain, any of those kind of things, moving forward with that. We're checking insurance, making sure we get all of that entered into the system. We get into the school system to document all of that too. We get training through our nursing services. And then once they go, we do all the follow-up and everything too. Again, this is if they don't have somebody else. If they have somebody else, we're not trying to interfere with that service. We just get them connected to somebody.
And so if that individual is an uninsured individual, that is where your billing comes in so that you can, right, on Medicaid. And
we have insurance navigators, so if someone comes in basically with nothing, they will sit down with them within a few days of registering with us, and they'll go through every possible, HIP, Medicaid, any kind of possible public plan out there that they might be eligible for. And we're pretty successful in getting people quickly enrolled in some sort of service.
And are you doing that at the point of your first interaction with a sick student, or is that something that you do at the front end during like registration?
We do it registration. There's a
Okay.
consent form, and of course the school's gathering information given to us. So.
And that can be done virtually. The parent doesn't have to come in. And
Right,
sit down with
as
us.
part of registration.
Right.
Are your services generally available on a sliding scale based on household income?
Absolutely.
And if my daughter goes in with just a bloody nose, that it's not any, is then insurance going to be billed?
No,
Is it
no.
just something a Band-Aid can be stuck on?
No,
And
it's just a nursing service and they're not billable underneath an FQHC. But when it's to the severity that a nurse practitioner needs to be seen, a licensed therapist, then that's the billable.
And then also you mentioned someone from the community could book an appointment and come in. And let's say there's an addict who's coming in to our schools. How is that? How are they filtered out, or how are appointments
We
made?
would screen that because we have other locations here in town that's where we would direct them to go to. So, all of that's very safe. And it's usually parents, of course, of the kids that we found out, hey, something's going on, we're going to do it.
And Muncie, I guess, how many community members are you seeing in the school?
Really not that many. We did like when we do the flu, and we had a drive-through area, so we came outside to their cars and did that. So not in the school, stationed in there anywhere. We brought portable restrooms and things like that. We don't want to, impede on the school in any way or cause any problems.
And we're required to do that through the federal agency that regulates this, but in actuality, not very many people.
No.
Okay. So outside COVID testing, wouldn't be bringing people in who are sick to be
No, we
tested.
did it out the cost.
Okay.
So, for example, in Muncie, as you continue to grow, let's say now that you're approaching the place where you're in all of the schools, I'm assuming you don't have a nurse practitioner at every building.
No.
You have a nurse practitioner then your nurse at one building gets a hold of them if they need them and they kind of travel.
We do some virtual, and she
Yeah.
travels to those.
Mhm.
Yes. We right now have nurses that we hired from Muncie Community Schools. And that's all that we will be hiring for that location. Some of them will do half days there, some will do full days. We just looked at the volumes of when we did need a nurse there. Of course, they pass the medications and all those things too as well. So we do a lot of education. I give you an example, a couple funny examples. The one's about diabetic, but we partnered with a hospital in Indy, Riley, to provide education for the family. So that went really well. I mean, it was just a part of us really being a part of that. She got a new pump. We educated the family on the pump rather than them having to go all the way to Riley and do all of that. The funny one is we've had, and I tell a story, but we had a kid come in and had stapled a Post-it note to his forehead. And so we have those kinds of things happen too. Not just one, 3 times. He came back 2 other times and done the same thing. So, we see everything. We've had some broken bones. There's some altercations that occur there too as well, which again, we're behavioral health, so we get involved in that too. You know, the bullying stuff that can be taking place, anything that we can help with from a behavioral health perspective. We just want to provide a lot of education and support through that. At suicide at Muncie Community Schools, it was on a Sunday morning through a kid in the community. You know, we were called directly about having some therapists there for the kids and for the teachers. It was the very basics of how do we clean out the locker and what do we tell kids around there or the family members around there. So just a lot of support from us being the experts in the community about a lot of this and how we can help them. So.
On the medical side, so if a nurse practitioner is responsible, where's the doctor coming? Is that housed in? Is that local at Dr. Marsteller, or is that Muncie, or?
So all of our nurse practitioners have collaborators, and they are physicians, so that's who they talk with directly. If it's more intense services that someone would need pediatric wise or anything like that, again, we're always going to check to see if they're already hooked with somebody so that we don't interfere with that. But yes, local doctors would be their collaborators specifically about that.
They can entirely prescribe medication.
Absolutely, yeah.
The local Meridian physician.
Yeah, or the nurse practitioners.
But as far as, I mean, the nurse practitioners have to have a collaborator. Right?
They do.
Okay, so that person would be the person that's already here locally?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Well, one tough question. I got a tough question. You're telling us that you're going to pay for all the renovation. You're going to cover all the costs for the employees. You're going to cover all of our schools and cover all of our needs. There's got to be a downside.
The part is.
It sounds just like I do.
The part is that we have to come in and see kids and get them to that preventative care for primary dental. When we get them to that level of service or behavioral health, that's when the reimbursement comes to us to sustain the people that we have in there to pay for what we've done.
Can we attach employee health clinic into this?
It's something we can discuss, absolutely. And there's been other schools that have asked about that too.
I was going to mention, at least mention the ambulance carts, if you're not familiar with that. It's a cart that has a video monitor on it and all kinds of scopes for blood pressure and
checking your throat, your ears,
everything.
Your eyes. Mm-hmm.
Open your mouth, look in your eyes, look in your ears. And the, say, medical assistant or an LPN or a nurse could be in a school and checking gears and all that. And all that real-time video is being seen by, say, a nurse practitioner, or pediatrician, or physician at another Meridian site. So it's just like being there, but they can see all that. They can check teeth, scan, all kinds of different things.
When you say dental, you would, like, do you have a dental clinic too? You do cleanings, x-rays,
right,
all that sort of stuff on site?
Panoramic x-ray machine there. And that's just recently opened. It's been a couple months now.
It's on page 18.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean,
on South 9th Street, the former grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be for more intense services that we would refer somebody to. Here we can do a mobile screening, and I don't mean like a mobile van or anything like that. We have equipment that you can bring here to do just the initial screening. And would like to, be a part of annual screenings that we would do. Again, we have to follow all the guidelines through the Nursing Association of Indiana about specifically what nurses have to do. We have to do manual, we have to do all of that stuff of reporting and everything back to the state. Immunizations, we're able to do all of those, storage of all of those. We make it a CLIA site. We're underneath the certification of all of that. So, yeah, you wouldn't be the first school that we're coming into, and we've done a template specifically of moving from one school to another of exactly everything we have to do when we go there.
Is this the cart you're referencing?
Yes, it is. Okay, yes, it is.
So that's on page 20.
Yeah.
I like my visuals.
And Mr. Suttles, I apologize, just to reiterate, but as Mr. Schleifer referenced, I too, once we finished with our first meeting, I too was waiting for someone to ask me to pull their finger, because I just knew that there was some fine print somewhere. That with my wife being a nurse practitioner as well, I know the costs that are associated with such services, but of the homework that I've done, and the multitude of folks here in town, as well as even in Muncie. You all mentioned Dr. Kajkowski there at Muncie. I also spoke with someone the board is very familiar with, Dr. Chuck Reynolds. Also just last week in a Nashville conference, spoke with Dr. Phelps, who is the assistant superintendent there in Muncie. So I've tried to do my homework, and everyone continues to say the same things. And I know that Reed Hospital, along with our Wayne County Health Department, I know you all have been in partnership with them in years past and have worked side by side. They too have referenced that, and just in short, the amount of wellness that students have been exposed to, or the care that you all provided for those students there in Muncie. As they mentioned, it's been night and day, and the overall wellness of the city has improved. And so I know that of what our trustees have referenced and brought before us, when we met, it just seemed as if everything was falling in line. And so as you mentioned, and as I told you, we like the F word, school appropriate free word here in our district. And so knowing that this is free all the way through is remarkable. And then the care that if indeed our trustees would have it.
Free.
Yeah, free.
Yes.
Free forever. Yeah, that's the other free forever. I love it. Yeah.
And you mentioned Reed Health. This has been instrumental in getting our staff connected with Reed Health's pediatric clinic, the pediatric rehab clinic. And then last July, we started up the maternal treatment program, which provides addiction services to mothers, expecting mothers or percent just delivered, and working them through recovery. And so I think we've had how many babies born since July?
4 babies.
And none of them have gone through what's called neonatal absence syndrome, and that they're not born addicted because they're in our program.
And again, as I mentioned, students that typically would not be seen and or even treated through our UL services there in Muncie, as well as now soon to be Addison, are having opportunity to be
Well, that's
seen.
when we work with staff with the mental health first aid and stuff. So staff everywhere from the housekeepers all the way up to the superintendent can learn the whole process of supporting students, identifying those telltale signs where a child might be at risk, and then intervening on an appropriate level.
My last question, as Attorney Cross had referenced with regard to the grant, and again, I don't know, so I'm asking for just clarification and education. If this grant indeed does expire or go away, it's still free forever.
Yeah. We renew every 3 years, and again, we want to do that specifically, just so that if you have any concerns, anything like that, there is a way out of the contract too. Again, we've worked with Muncie Community Schools, their attorneys too, so it's been really nice. We have a template of what that looks like. I did bring 3 copies signed by our CEO for you guys to review. Again, I know you may have others that need to look at it, but it includes everything that we've talked about today, from behavioral health, primary care, nursing. It's very detailed about all the services we would be providing, along with the staff that we provide. It also covers the facilities, everything that we talked about, it's all in our contract.
So your FQHC designation is grant funded by IRSA, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
So if you add Richmond, then when you go back and do an amendment to your project to get additional funds?
Yes.
And we ask for what's called a change of scope.
Change of scope, right.
So we have to apply for that, and those pretty much once you're established, we've been adding them regularly.
When you were starting, you probably in your application or pre-app period had to do a year's study or whatever to establish your reimbursement rates.
Right.
That now you can take on another entity like Richmond, and that's fine because those rates will apply. Is that correct? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have like a consumer or a customer report card? I mean, how do we evaluate that you're effective and providing the correct level of staffing needs? Because I mean, our kids now, I'll be just honest, our kids nowadays at a higher need of behavioral services than we've ever experienced. So, I mean, it sounds too good to be true. So how do I know, how can we grade the system to know that you know, maybe you need to provide 3 more therapists on site than just 1. How do we gauge that, and how do we have?
So, we meet with administration every 2 weeks at Muncie Community Schools. It's a very short meeting. That's just a face-to-face, real quick. How are things going? What do you need? Our turnaround time is very quickly on if we need more services. We do a survey too as well that goes out to all the parents in the system about if they're looking for something different. Has the experience been good? Is there anything else we can do? Very quick survey.
Have you got some of that data that we can
Yes,
see?
the school would have it, but specifically we can get that shown to you.
Yes, you know, something, because that's one of the things that, it sounds good, but, you know, how do we evaluate it? How do we say that you're falling short, or you're reaching your goals, or?
We provide regular data to federal government personnel regarding the UDS data, I think it's called. It's not your drug screen, it's Unified Set, I think it is. But we have to do that regularly, and we just submitted that and got the report on that, so. But that's where everything that we do.
What is your staffing in Muncie? Are you fully staffed? Do you have trouble keeping staff?
Actually,
what's your turnaround of
It's been
staff?
very nice. We market that it's a school-based schedule specifically, so people really like it, that there's a period of time that they can have off up to 60 days without losing any benefits or anything like that. So for nurses, we've had all kinds of nurses apply because they want out of the acute care. I don't blame them. I'm background nursing. And so people are coming on board with, yeah, I like that Monday through Friday. I like some extra time off. And, you know, we provide a lot of training, a lot of orientation. We don't just dump it in. There's a lot of things we do before we even start it up and get things rolling. We're looking for a specific type of nurse too as well, but involved in those interviews that can relate to kids, that like kids, that can do the job. And there's some nurses who don't like kids, and they tell us right, I'm not a good fit. So, yeah, we're very particular about that. Probably the biggest thing too is these nurses come on board with the benefits we have, and they really like that too. Really like that. So.
And are they, I know you said you have 1 RN and kind of over there, are they LPNs then, or are they medical assistants?
There's RNs, LPNs, and MAs, and it's a reporting structure up to the RN specifically. And then there is an RN manager that's over the whole system.
So let's just say at one of our elementary schools, you have a clinic there. Who will be there daily? What
LPN,
an
be there
LPN
daily.
and
We
an
look-
LPN reports
Right, to the
the RN, who may then report to the NP, depending on.
And they don't really report to the NP, that stays on the primary care side. We have
Okay.
directors of nursing that they would report to for competency things and those kind of things, making sure everything's checked off every year, annual. And again, we're required to do all of that, so.
And I guess your pay for the LPN is competitive with hospitals, nursing homes, just to get the staff.
We do almost annual market surveys throughout the area for all those positions.
Do you need administrative staff as well, or?
We have support staff that we provide, you know, for our locations. Our MAs will function as an MA and a support staff, so they're cross-trained. It's a very cost-effective.
MA, medical assistant.
Pardon me?
MA, medical assistant.
Medical assistant, sorry about that.
Boy, I got that one figured out.
Master bar.
Does your provider then typically have a LPN and a MA?
They do,
Okay.
yes, because we'll have somebody at the front desk and then the LPN taking care of it. Yeah.
All these acronyms, A, B, C, D.
Fit perfectly in education. Huh?
Well, it would be interesting to see, I mean, are you planning a site visit to Muncie to see the unit and how it's set up and run?
Without a doubt, yeah, and so of Meridian Health's presentation, of course, this being a working session, after conversation, that was definitely going to be, if indeed the board would have it.
Anytime.
Free facilities work, free personnel, free, our kids' needs all being taken. It's worth investigating.
True, please come and see, on our website.
I'm surprised the CFO isn't up yelling. I'm interested in the employee health clinic, so let's just really push the bubble, you know, let's just go all the way. And the fact that, you know, Kristen pointed out the vaccinations. That's a huge issue that we have with our kids, making sure they have all the vaccinations. I'm assuming that you picked that up.
We
and-
do, we send
and
out
track the
letters,
parents for
we-
that.
yeah,
and-
all of us.
All through consent of the
All
parent.
through
as you mentioned,
consent,
everything's through
everything we
consent
have
of
to
the
have.
parent. Yes, no doubt about it. And as you mentioned, during our conversation, as I said, assuming it's still the case, all you would need is roughly 90 days to set space in 90 days.
So that's why we're here to try to get,
Yeah.
to see if we can move forward, because we'll need to apply for that scope. And sometimes it can be between 90 to 120 days. So we want to be ready by the first, if that's what we, move forward with, so, yeah.
You have multiple local boards, or you used to have a central board? Because I know URSA dictates the composition of that, and percent have to be users, if you will, or patrons, and as well as the others. So what region would it be typical that those people would be from?
We have one board member from Wayne County. We have one from Jay County. Henry County.
And the Delaware County, of course. And they do use our services. Many of them came through for the flu clinic at the school specifically, just because they wanted to see what it was like and get their flu shot there, so COVID testing.
And just to reiterate, just because, I do know that our current nurse employees would be very much wanting to know what's going on, as I would, in their situation. So they would all have the opportunity to apply and interview for that position that they currently hold.
So we would post them within Wayne County on the Meridian Health Services side, and they could apply for it and give them information. We do pay for years of service, so it's not the same across the boards. If they've been a nurse for a long time, we do pay for that too as well. We pay for different levels of associate, bachelor's, and master's degrees. So very competitive.
So I'm assuming if they were a current nurse at one of our schools, they would get a really good, almost preferential look.
Yes, they would.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah.
And what we did at Muncie Community Schools is we had a luncheon for them because we wanted them just to come in and see what it looked like, talk to them, answer questions that they had. That was received very well. Just us talking with them about what was going on.
But to be clear, at the end of the day, they would become, if successful in their interview, employees of Meridian.
Absolutely.
And how many of the nurses in Muncie approximately stayed who were nurses?
So we have 3 that have stayed with us, and the others were outside nurses that came in. And with Muncie, they didn't directly hire them; they were contract companies that they were with. But we still offer to all of them to interview. And on our website, if you go to meridianhs.org, meridianhs.org, there is a video of the clinic specifically. So it's school-based health center, and it walks you through what the clinic looks like. We've had all kinds of people, county commissioners and all kinds of people come and walk through the clinic, more than willing to provide information or tours of it. I know Dr. Kowalski would be there for us too, as well, to answer questions. So principals of the schools, they love it. Love it. Last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of requests for physicals of kids that need to be getting into sports and playing and stuff. So we've made that very convenient for them. CPR, first aid, any of that stuff that the teachers need, we make it very convenient, either during fall breaks, weekends. They like it, so we just ask them, when do you want us to do it? And people come in and do the training for them. So. And again, we don't charge.
I have a question. Because then, I guess since schools are only open during the school year, you would keep the clinic open
We do.
year round. So some way the school has to be open to.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we do, unless we would have several staff off at one time and we didn't need it. But it's really nice time for us to get ready for the next school year. And we would have staff that would want to alternate, take some time off during that time. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I
We
think
don't
it's
have to
worth
be at all locations.
going to the next step and investigating.
Yeah, well, for sending Dr. Pride on a site visit.
Yes.
If anybody'd like to accompany.
All right. I'll make that. Then we're good.
Thank you.
I do have these contracts with you too. They're all 3 the same. Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
I'm good with break too. If you want to take a break, or should we just shuffle out? Yeah, bathroom pass.
Okay, moving on to item 5, consent items. Dr. Wright.
President Weber, trustees, I come before you this evening to ask for approval. Consent items 5.01 through 5.06 and all necessary addendums regarding human resources.
Motion by Jeff Slifer,
Second.
second by Aaron Stevens. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0. Moving on to action items.
President Weber, trustees, I ask that our Chief Financial Officer, Mrs. Karen Scalf, join us for approval of action items 6.01 all the way through 6.07. Mrs. Scalf, you have the floor.
Good evening. Tonight before you, under action item 6.01 is the request to accept donations. Tonight we have $8,375 in donations. We would like to thank all of the community members who have donated to our buildings. You will see a lot of donations for Richmond High School, various programs, both music, sports, and the bowling club, as well as the automotive group. And then the middle school received a donation to the student activity account. I would like to note that some of our other schools will start seeing this as well. For any student who goes and gets a physical at the First Care Center, they do donate a portion of the proceeds back to the school of their choice. So if parents are interested, they may choose to do that. And then Star Elementary also received a donation to go toward classroom supplies from the Black Bond Giving Fund. So tonight, I ask the board to accept $8,375 in donations.
Thank you.
I move we approve the donation.
Motion by Keith Morey.
With gratitude.
Second.
Second by Brad Walton. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, next up, under 6.02, we have change orders. These change orders are for the RHS fire alarm upgrade. These change orders will conclude this project. So tonight before you, there are 5. And I ask that the board approve those change orders as they've been presented.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I move to approve 6.02, the change orders of RHS fire alarms as presented.
Motion by Aaron Stevens.
Second.
Second by Nicole Stoltz. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. Scout.
Okay, next up before you is a proposal with Maze Design for professional services on a project at Dennis for HVAC upgrades. This is a project funded through the ESSER grant, and all of the Davis-Bacon rules will apply. So the proposal was presented with those rules in mind, and it is before you tonight for approval.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Jeff Slifer.
Second.
Second by Kristen Brenton. Any questions or comments?
I would just comment that this is a proposal. It'll come back to the board for formal approval as a contract, but this is part of the sequence.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. Scout.
Okay, under item 6.04, we have the Adult Education Program, IDOE Assurances Renewal. This is a requirement annually for participation in the Adult Education Program through the Indiana Department of Education. So there are no changes with the exception of dates to our program. And that is before you tonight under 6.04.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Jeff Slifer,
I'll say.
give it a second by Keith Morey.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. Scott.
Okay, under action item 6.05, we have a contract for services that are associated with the Handle with Care grant. This contract is with futureachievers.org. It does come at the request of the administrative team at RHS. This grant is primarily handled by Ms. Baker and Mr. Amix, and this will provide services to students and faculty over at RHS from Carl Reinhardt. It does provide a number of different services, as you can see through that agreement, and Mr. Reinhardt has been kind enough to already get started with some services that are not part of this contract, providing to the kids that from the looks of social media, they are enjoying it immensely. So tonight, this contract is before you with Future Achievers.
Thank you.
I move to approve 6.05, the contract with services associated with Handle with Care.
Motion by Aaron Stevens,
I'll second.
second by Keith Morey. Any questions or comments? I just had one question. Is this a new program?
It is a new program. The Handle with Care grant is new, and so it is something that is for at-risk students. And so while some of these services have happened in different variations throughout the years over at RHS, this is new to us in this scope.
All right.
Yes, is the best word.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. Scott.
Okay, up next is the request to advertise for a public auction of surplus obsolete items. The administration has accumulated several items that are no longer needed and have been obsoleted. Building administrators will have the opportunity to claim any items that are no longer needed and obsoleted before they're placed in the RCS auction, which will take place on Saturday, April 16th. 2022 at 10 a.m. The auction will be located at the RCS Bus Garage on Salisbury Road, and we will be advertising the same in the Palladium item on April 1st and April 8th, 2022. It's my recommendation that the Board of School Trustees approves the obsoleting of items and the RCS auction take place on Saturday, April 16th, as it has been presented.
Thank you.
I move that we approve both the obsoleting of items as well as the auction being advertised.
Motion by Nicole Stoltz,
Second.
second by Aaron Stevens. Any questions or comments?
Is there a preview night or a preview time schedule?
What happens is an email is sent to administrators and Mr. Hamilton coordinates what's convenient for the administrator. So there isn't a particular night that's open because we have to coordinate the movement of items back to a building, but he does make it convenient for the administrator so the principal can call him and set up a time to go over and look.
Jeff, were you asking about for people who are wanting to go to the auction?
Right,
Yeah. For public?
We do not do early open. Most auctioneers now put it online, so they'll kind of do some advertising on their website.
Any, I know we've had buses in the past. Any buses or any big ticket
No
items?
buses this time. We're probably going to do a spring and a fall auction. So, but no buses yet. We won't have those probably until the fall if we're lucky enough to get our buses that early. Buses are one of the delayed items that we're looking toward probably being December or January. So maybe next year before we have buses.
So in other words, when we advertise, we'll know the auctioneer that we're using so the people can then go to that site.
Yeah, so it's all part of the notice. They just have to get you to approve the date so they can secure that auctioneer officially before we can put anything out. So yeah. We will probably use the same auctioneer that we have in the past if I was to make an educated guess tonight.
tiny homes. All right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to item, I guess we're still with Mrs. Scott.
You are, it's fun night with me this evening,
It's always
so.
a fun night.
Yeah, so 6.07 is a request to advertise for the third floor, corridor flooring at RHS. We did accept bids, on February the 18th. 2 bids were received, however, both bids were incomplete and had to be thrown out. So, we would like to re-advertise the project. The only change is the scope in which we will be doing third floor only. In requesting feedback from the 2 bidders as well as the other 4 interested parties who did not provide bids, all suggested that the scope was too large to complete during the summer months. And so they did request that we change the scope and that we would probably likely get more bids. It's a probably likely. So we will see what we get when the time comes. However, we are going to make every effort to get that. So we'd like to re-advertise this project with the change of scope. We will be publishing the advertisement on Friday, March 18th, and again on Friday, March 25th. In the Palladium item, and we will hold the bid opening on Friday, April 8th at 3 p.m. here at the administration building. We are hoping, based on bids coming in, to make a recommendation at the April 27th board meeting. Tonight, I ask for approval to officially reject the 2 bids that were incomplete on February 18th and approve the request to re-advertise the notice to bidders for the RHS corridor flooring replacement with the change of scope.
Thank you.
I would like to make a motion that we reject both bids and approve a request to re-advertise the notice for bidders for the RHS flooring replacements.
Motion by Keith Morey.
Well stated, Keith, and I will second that.
Thank you.
Second by Aaron Stevens. I'm guessing there might be a question or comment.
Aaron, did you say there was only 2 bids or was there 3?
2.
But they were incomplete.
Right, I just make sure there wasn't a third one that was complete.
All right. Anything else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to item 6.08, Reading Academy. Dr. Wright.
President Weber, trustees, I again ask that our Assistant Superintendent, this is Jennifer O'Brien, join us in conversation through 6.08 as well as 6.09.
Tonight I recommend the Board of Trustees accept the proposal from Every Child Can Read Incorporated for the summer of 2022 Reading Academy. The proposal is outlined in the attached RFP. We received one proposal, and that was from Every Child Can Read. Ashley Gerard, an RCS employee, will be the director of the 2022 camp. The proposal is very similar to past years with a name change from Third Grade Academy to the Reading Academy. The Reading Academy will serve current 3rd grade students needing to pass iRead 3 and a class of 20 2nd grade students who are entering the 3rd grade that demonstrated below grade level proficiency. The program will be housed at IU East. The financial commitment from Richmond Community Schools will remain at $65,000 as it has been in previous years. Again, at this time, I recommend the Board of Trustees accept the proposal from Every Child Can Read.
Thank you.
I move to approve 6.08, the Reading Academy proposal, formerly known as 3rd Grade Academy.
Motion by Aaron Stevens.
I'll second.
Second by Nicole Stoltz. Any questions or comments?
Ms. Gerard did it last year, correct?
That is correct.
Good deal.
Anything else?
Experience.
Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. O'Brien.
Yes, tonight I bring to you 3 requests for overnight field trips. The first is a request from Larry Wilson, a teacher at Richmond High School. He is requesting approval for an overnight trip for the school's USA State competition in Indianapolis. The groups participating include precision machining, drafting, construction, firefighting, and EMT. The group will leave on April the 8th and return on April 9th. And the competition is held at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, and the group will stay overnight in a hotel. There is no cost for students for the trip. The second trip is a request from Mrs. Sarah Hawley. She's a teacher at Richmond High School. She's requesting approval for an overnight trip for the HOSA Future Health Professionals State Leadership Conference in Indianapolis, April 21st to April 23rd. State Leadership Conference is Indiana's HOSA's largest annual conference that allows members to compete in over 55 competitive events. The conference also features educational symposiums hosted by healthcare professionals and interactive workshops hosted by Indiana HOSA alumni and healthcare professionals. Members also have the opportunity to check out the annual Career and College Expo, where they can explore different college and career paths in healthcare. This event takes place at downtown Indianapolis Weston. The cost of the trip is $210, and fundraising opportunities are available for students. The third request is from Denise Selm and Angie Witham. They are teachers at Richmond High School. They're requesting approval for an overnight trip to Dallas, Texas. Business Professionals of America, or BPA, state qualifiers will travel to the national conference May 4th to May 8th. The cost of the trip is $700, and fundraising opportunities have been available throughout the year. And just late breaking news, just yet this afternoon, we had 12 students qualify for nationals. And so I think that's our largest group. And we have 5 students that placed first in their events.
We have a qualifier with us. Esther! Esther, I put you on the spot. What did you qualify in?
Administrative support research individual.
Wow. All right.
It sounds fancy, it's not that big.
Congratulations.
Well, again, I asked the board to approve the overnight field trips as presented, and with approval, Ms. Etherington will be going to Texas.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Jeff Schleifer.
Second.
Second by Brad Walton. Any questions or comments?
I'm excited for them. It sounds like great opportunities for all of these teachers and students.
BPAs, having children gone through that is great for impactful for the kids. Thank you. Anything else? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Did you vote, Keith?
No. It's a 6-0.
Motion passes 6-0. Moving on item to item 6.10, superintendent contract extension. As we have had, I don't have a script, so we've had the contract available for public comment at our last meeting. And I believe that the extension has been, everyone is well aware. We moved to approve the, extend the contract of Dr. Wright to 2027, I believe. Any questions or comments? Or no, I guess I'll have a motion first.
All motion to approve the contract.
I'll second.
Motion by Brad Walton, second by Nicole Stoltz. Now, any questions or comments?
Let me get my whole list. No, just kidding.
Keep up the good work.
I'll just add that I think the board is trying to show our commitment to Dr. Wright and feel that, we have made good progress and continue to do so, and appreciate his leadership and stewardship.
Thank you, President Weber and trustees. As we've said a few meetings now, it's a collective effort, and the team that we've assembled and continue to have in motion on a daily basis have just done a tremendous job. So definitely humbled and appreciative.
No comments yet. We haven't voted.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm optimistic.
We got to use the restroom again.
All right. Any additional questions or comments?
No, it's all good fun.
Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0.
Now, Keith, you can go.
All right, moving on to policy review and update. We have two policies on second reading. I'd be interested in a long-winded
I would love
motion.
to motion that we bundle or item 7.01, policy 4730, equal access for non-corporation sponsored student clubs and activities, second reading and approval. And item 7.02, policy 4820, student government, second reading and approval.
Thank you. Motion by Brad Walton,
Second.
second by Kristen Brenton. Any questions or comments on those two policies and moving them to approval? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I would move 7.03, policy 4540, and 7.04, policy 4601 to second reading.
Yeah, could you read off the whole policies?
They are the policy, 7.03, policy 4540, the schools and governmental agencies, and 7.04, reference policy 4601, restraint and seclusion, first reading. I would move to forward both of those to second reading.
Thank you, sir. Motion by Aaron Stevens,
Second.
second by Brad Walton. Any questions or comments on those two policies moving forward? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to board reports and discussion. I will, before I open the floor, I will just say I attended the disability awareness workshop at Crestdale, and the school did a fabulous job. It was very impressive. Basically ran the whole student body through, I think 8 stations to learn about different disabilities and how they might affect students. And just so people were aware of struggles students may or may not have. And I was super impressed. It was well run. They're great volunteers. And it was really nice to see the kids. The kids are very engaged. So that would be my board report for the day. Anyone else?
I would add that Nicole and I got to visit Dennis Middle School last week and volunteer in Mr. North's classroom and had a great time working with students writing, and also just talking to Mr. Graber as a new principal at Dennis and seeing all the positive things going on there. And he also volunteered in the classroom as well. So it's a good day.
And we got to stop by the media center as well and see what they're doing. They're doing a bracket for the books. So it's not all about basketball. I know that goes against what a lot of people think right now, but it was, they had several books that they were voting on as far as like what was the best. So just exciting to see some of those things going on in our middle school at Dennis. So
tomorrow we're headed to test the volunteer.
And I also need to include, I attended the Godspell last weekend by our performing arts groups, and they did a fabulous job at Dennis. Good attendance. The 3 teachers that run the drama club are just excellent, and they are super excited for McBride to be finished. And so I said I was disappointed.
Outdoor concert. Outdoor concert.
Excuse me. Yes. And so I just appreciate the effort. I mean, I know it's really, unless you've done drama or theater, you don't know the work that entails. And so to see what those kids commit to, and the show was really good and positive, and the kids did a wonderful job, and so I can't wait till next year. So.
And do you mind just giving recognition to the 3 that I believe it's Archer Bunner and Tanner Peterball and
Jacqueline Bartley.
Yes, thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, they were fabulous. They really did. I think that trio has some real synergy, I think with McGuire being done next year, I hope they pick a fabulous show because I think it'll be really great.
I have just something I would like to have the group think about. Just pose the question. I see the emails about CPR classes for the teachers. I would love for us to not, and I mean, it sounds like I heard an option for that already, but I would love for us to not ask teachers to pay $50 to renew their CPR. However we do it, I'm wide open for hearing other ways. I believe we have teachers from within the district that teach it. I would happily make an approval if some sort of proposal was made that we paid for that. I don't like the idea of that. I would like us to pay for them to be recertified without asking them to pay additional money for them to be recertified.
I like that idea. How can we make that happen?
Put a bug in the ear and see what comes back around. I'm fine. I just wanted to throw it out there. I see those emails regularly that, hey, we got another round, it's $50. And I just think that's one thing we can take off of teachers. I mean, they still have to get recertified. I don't have any problem asking teachers to be recertified. What I would like is for us to cover that and not.
Do we have any sense of the number of teachers that are certified every year?
No, but we can look into that so that you can have some data that goes with that request. I think that might be the way that you need to approach that to start with. So you know how much you're looking at per year on average and how we would budget that, and maybe just to see what your liability would be to come under the budget.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve, for even bringing that up, because the word liability was just used. And I mean, if it gets down to the point of a teacher needing to administer, health saving techniques to someone that they're trained for, I think it's appropriate that we provide the backing for them to be able to do that for something that they're expected to do, instead of having them to pay for something that we expect them to do, alleviating, concerns of liability. So
the other thought just came to mind from the end of the legislative session. There's, and you guys tell me, but I think we are limited now to 3 e-learning days. So I don't know how that affects our PDs as we go forward to next year's schedule, but that may be something we need to look at.
Right, you really want me to kick that asynchronous horse, don't you? I'm teasing. Interesting enough, there are built in within the bill that was passed opportunities for us to indeed explore e-learning days. There are waivers as well as other criteria to extend beyond the 3. But yes, the idea is that 3 would be the allotment per district, but there is ways in which e-learning days could still be explored, primarily through the asynchronous option.
And just to follow up on the CPR, I know if Meridian, that does sound like that's something in their playbook, but it'd be nice if maybe Mrs. Stewart and Mrs. Scott could get us some just rough numbers of what that might cost us.
Yeah, we can do that.
On the CPR training.
Yeah.
And from the other end, if Dr. Wright could talk to Meridian to see if that's some of the training that they could.
I can write it into the contract right now. They've already signed it.
Mentions it.
We'll definitely talk with Meridian. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was mentioned, but just to follow up and make sure that thread's tied. Anything else? Board reports, discussion? All right.
President Weber.
Yes, sir.
Kind of to pick up a little bit on what Keith is getting at. As the legislative session has ended, I think there's, as Terry Spradlin said in his report, a bit of a collective sigh of relief among public educators and people that advocate for public education. That being said, I do believe that there were some positive things done in the later stages through the bill amendment process that made potentially bad situations less onerous, if you will. And I don't know that I have my head around all the ones. I've been trying to follow them as close as I can. Be that, so I guess my point is, I'm not sure that a thank you to our legislators is out of order. I think they were willing to listen. I think the dynamic apparently changed from the first part of the session to the end. And it wasn't all about 1134, although that was a very significant one, but 29883, we got some changes we'll have to make and some adjustments to make, but I didn't look at them and feel like there was anything that we couldn't handle with a minimal of adjustment. And so I, for one, have sent an email thanking a particular legislator for his willingness to listen. And I think hopefully they'll be showing us that same respect next session, because we know these things aren't going away, unfortunately.
And just to piggyback on what Attorney Cross referenced, and I was going to, glad you brought it up, part of the bell ringer, I was going to reference the fact that just the collective effort of, whether it be board members, superintendents across the state, central office leaders, building level leaders, teachers, stakeholders, students, I think everyone came together to truly voice the alarming language and narrative that many of the bills had. And I know that with Indiana being a unique state, as it always has been, as Attorney Cross mentioned, our local legislative officials spent some time with one just last evening. They definitely had their antennas and ears open to what folks had concern with. And I think of what they were able to do was rather, well, it was unprecedented compared to what other states had done with such legislation and such narratives. But as Attorney Cross mentioned, and just spending time with superintendents at a conference there in Indianapolis today, we are anticipating that a lot of the language will resurface and find its way back around the proverbial wheel. So we're definitely monitoring and keeping an eye open, but great exercise in civics.
Thank you both. Yeah, we had the President's Roundtable this week last week, and one of the main discussion points was the change to the public commentary language. I think as tonight's, I think Richmond has always done a fairly good job with public commentary, and I think we use it as it is meant to be used. And so some of the other school districts have really had some a little statement difficult times, and so I'm appreciative of our public and of our staff. But preview of upcoming meeting and events.
Our next school board meeting is scheduled for April the 13th. Of course, I'm not going to steal. I mean, this is Hazelbeck thunder, but we have in the spring recess that we'll conduct next week. But we come back together on the 13th of April to conduct the school systems business. And with that, I'm now going to ask this Richard Hazelbecker to rejoin us for the adjournment.
If I may, you had mentioned our attorney, and I wanted to thank him. I think we thank him for stepping up during our public commentary to give us direction, give direction to the individuals who are speaking. And hopefully this is still being heard, that it was not to silence anyone's voice, but there's a protocol, to protect allegations and conduct that we can investigate or we can look into, but to guide us, give us guidance as well as those who come to speak. And I wanted to thank Ron for that, because I know it's very uncomfortable.
On that note, I think I appreciate you stepping in and mentioning that, but that's on the sign-in sheet. There are 8 bulleted kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be wise. I know at one point we have I don't know that we need to read all of them, but I think it would be nice to, before we start public comment, just to read off, hey, we asked that you limit your comments to 5 minutes. There was one about mentioning people by name. It's great if you want to compliment people, but if you're going to be critical,
when we know there's going to be any kind of controversial topic brought forth, anything that may have happened, we do reiterate that before public commentary.
Right, but I think it would be wise to do it each time, because we don't know when something's going to come up. And again, I don't know that I'm not suggesting we would read that entire top half of that sheet, but it would be worthwhile, I think, to just mention for anybody that wants to come, just so that they know the protocols if they haven't. Because you really do walk in and say, I'd like to speak. I don't think anybody goes, oh, okay, before I sign this, I want to,
Would it be possible to have those bullet points put up on our screens prior to public commentary? So, someone who is signed
That's not a bad idea.
in can also, while sitting there,
project them all,
Yes,
but say, just highlight, hey, we're going to try to give you, keep it to 5 minutes, keep it to.
Can't read those back there.
Should have posted on the red bulletin
a
board.
lot of times they just don't care.
You
True.
need that paperwork. Are you gonna speak? Here's some, this is the agenda. Here's some tips just to let you know how public commentary goes. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Miss Hazel.
All right, bell ringer. Richmond High School senior Molly Lindahl has been named one of 40 2022 Indiana Academic All-Stars. Richmond High School senior Savannah Blair has advanced as a finalist in the prestigious National Merit Scholarship Competition. As was spoken earlier, 12 Richmond High School BPA students qualified National BPA Conference in Texas. And then upcoming events. So spring break is next week. Fairview Elementary School is hosting their Title I Literacy Night tomorrow night, Thursday, March 17th. Their event is called A Rainbow of Good Writing. Spring break is next week. Crestdale Elementary School is hosting their Title I Literacy Night on Monday, April 4th. Their event is called Spring into Writing. Spring break.
Is that after spring break?
On Tuesday, April 5th, Bridget Hazelbaker and Alicia Stewart will celebrate their birthdays. And spring break is
You skipped March 26th, which is Jennifer O'Brien.
That's right, March 26th. Jennifer
Wow.
O'Brien and
Whoa.
Jen Claypool's birthday. All right.
Lincoln
And then
all over
finally,
this place.
Richmond High School percussion concert will be Thursday, April 4th at 7 p.m. at Civic Hall.
What's
May I add one?
Spring break.
May I add one
Yes.
besides spring break? Also, congratulations to our own CFO, her son, who just recently signed.
School, great school, tremendous institution.
It's all right.
Thank you, Ms. Hasselbeck.
Thank you, Ms. Hazel.
Anyone else, have anything for the good of the college? Meeting is adjourned.
Board members.
Keep praying for it.
My,